Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Sabbath study. And this one is a lot less polished than normal. Usually I'm live from my house, but I'm here at a hotel today and I'm recording actually really early because I have five children. And if I don't, it'll be, you'll hear so many things in the background. And the sound still may not be as good as I would like it, but this chapter of Matthew, I don't want to short it at all. So hopefully I can do justice by reading it with you guys, and you can read along with me, and we can get something out of this for the day. So I hope you guys are blessed on this Sabbath, and I'm always grateful to do this with you guys. Some of you have been a listener of our channel, a follower, or somebody that we've even met for um, over a decade. And so for that, I'm grateful to be able to do this with you guys. And I'm going to try to screen share. Not only am I out of my studio, but I'm also not very well versed in a Mac computer. So I'm going to try to figure out how to make this happen. And usually okay, let's see if this works. Bear with me, guys. Let's do this. Boom. Look at that. Okay, so looks like I've got it as my background. I need to move over a little bit, maybe. Let's just see what it looks like here. Hopefully, hopefully that's pretty good. I don't know how well you can see the screen. I don't know even what it's looking like to you guys right now, but I'll find out later, I guess. But the words are what's important. So if you have a Bible, read along with us and look around. If you have a different version, then you'll see that some of the words are going to be a little bit different, but you're going to be able to follow along, and we can always look it up. I'm using the KJV or a KJV version, but I'm also using it on Bible Hub. That way, like when I hover over these words, if I want to look up one of the words and see what it actually means. Also, before we get started, please go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, and in the link of this video, you will find a um, link to the print off that you can use. You can do a free print off or PDF. You can digital download, whatever, and that will help you follow along what we're doing. My wife actually helped put that together. She put it together herself, but it has crossword, I think, and a word search maybe, and then a word of the day, things that help you with this study and also are just enjoyable for the family to read through. And so make sure to take advantage of that. Links in the description. It's just an Adobe Acrobat link. So Matthew 14, we've started in Matthew chapter 1, and we've gone all the way through. Jesus starts out his ministry at the year of 30 years old. That's what it seems to indicate. And when he starts it out, the first thing that happens is he goes into the wilderness, he fasts, and he withstands the trials of the devil. The devil offers him everything. He offers him the kingdoms that he is in control of here on earth, which is all the kingdoms of Rome. It's pretty apparent to me that Rome was all over the world, not just in that area. I know history seems that way, but when you see Roman architecture that spans the map internationally, even in America, it seems to me that they were further along than what we understand. But he was offering him everything, and Jesus turned it down. And then he goes and meets John the Baptist. John the Baptist is his brother. He is out in the wilderness, or not brother, cousin. He is out in the wilderness. People are looking to him, going to him to get baptized. He's prophet. People are likening him to Elijah. And when Jesus comes, he's baptized by or Jesus baptized. He's he baptizes Jesus. The dove comes down, and the voice of God says, "This is my son in whom I'm well pleased." And this kicks it off. As soon as that happens, he goes out into the streets, into the cities, starts healing people, casting out devils, and people are starting to follow him because it's so alarming that this is happening. This is not something that they've ever seen before. And so people all over the region are flocking to where he is, multitudes and multitudes and multitudes. And you'll see through these chapters that it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I mean, he's even casting devils out. Some cities don't want him there because they have, maybe they're pig farmers and they didn't like that he threw the pigs off the side of the mountain, or the demons threw the pigs off the side of the mountain. But the Pharisees are starting to get upset because he's taken a piece of their business, and their authority seems to be weakening because they're seeing the manifestation of God on earth, when before all they had was rule makers and dominating presence over them that, you know, taking their money, doing whatever. There's a lot of reasons that the Pharisees wouldn't like Jesus at the time. So here we go in Matthew chapter 14. So at that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard of the fame of Jesus, and the Tetrarch means he was a ruler of 1/4 of the earth. And it says, "And Jesus unto his servants, this is John the Baptist, he is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. For Herod had laid hold on John and bound him and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife. For John said unto him, It is not lawful for thee to have her. For when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here John Baptist's head in a charger. And we're going to look up that word charger because I'm not quite familiar with what that means. Okay, it means a board or a dish. I remember in my mind it's a board or dish, but I don't remember hearing that word charger, so I had to look it up. It says, And the king was sorry, nevertheless, for the oath's sake, and them which sat with him at meat he commanded to be given her. And he said and beheaded John, and he sent and beheaded John in the prison. And his head was brought in a charger and given to the damsel, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took up the body and buried it and went and told Jesus. So interesting. This woman was so angry, it seems, just because John told the truth about the sin that she was in, that she somewhat tricked Herod into beheading him, which is is very interesting because if you really think about the Jezebel type spirit, and we're not, I don't think it's an actual demon named Jezebel or anything, but this is the way that they work. If they don't like what you've done, even if you're right, to them in their mind, wickedness, not just with the women, men can have this Jezebel spirit as well. Feels like a narcissistic type mentality. And of course, anybody can have narcissistic tendencies. It doesn't make them narcissistic. And we can always, people have problems sometimes, but there's a level of evil with this that sees somebody and must get retribution or must damage them in some way because of whatever reason, maybe just because you don't agree with them or just because of this. I mean, he was thrown in jail. John was thrown in jail before his beheading just to keep his mouth shut. This is how bad the lust was for Herod. Um, and then the daughter of Herodias. This is how much it was, enough that they wanted him dead, and at least she wanted him dead. So continue in verse 13. It says, When Jesus heard of it, he departed thence by ship into a desert place apart. And the people had heard, they followed him on foot out of the cities. And Jesus went forth and saw a great multitude, and he was moved with compassion towards them, and he healed their sick. And the people were still followed him on foot. I mean, they were going everywhere. Yeah, they could not stay away from him. A great light had entered the city. And it says, And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, that they may go into the village and buy themselves victuals. But Jesus said unto them, They need not depart. Give ye them to eat. And they say unto him, We have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He said, Bring them hither to me. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looked up to heaven. He blessed and brake, and gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat, and they were filled. And they took up the fragments that remained, 12 baskets full. And they that had eaten were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Now that's a lot of people, 5,000 men alone. And I don't know how big their family were back then, but I have 5 children and a wife. And I know people that have more children than me. And I know people who have had maybe um, up back then, some people had multiple wives. So when you look at that, those numbers were most likely just being, let's say each person had one wife and one child. And that's being, I think, a little bit liberal, maybe liberal, maybe not, maybe it's conservative. So let's just pretend that that's the case. I'm sure some men followed without their wives, or didn't have wives, and I'm sure some women came that didn't have husbands, because this is a spectacle to be seen. So let's say that there was 15,000 people that were fed off of these loaves and fishes, which is an amazing miracle. But Jesus didn't send them away. That's something to remember in ministry. I think that we not only need to supply the needs, spiritual needs of people, but sometimes when the need is great, we should also try to supply the physical needs of that as well. So all of the ministries out there that are helping supply things for those who are less fortunate, whether it be widows, etc., a huge blessing upon that. Speaking of that, we do have a widows fund that you guys actually, we just facilitate it, and um, that you guys donate to the widows. We have several widows that we donate to, and this is a way to kind of help. And if you don't know any widows, or you don't know any orphans, or if you need to figure out a way to help people, this is a great way, because they need us. Even though we're not a physical fellowship, we are an online fellowship. And I hope you can't hear the noise. It sounds like one of the workers here at this place decided to bust out the leaf blower right around now. So we're going to continue here. And straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship, and to go before him onto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the 4th watch of the night, Jesus went unto him walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, Is this a spirit? And they cried out for fear. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, and be not afraid. Very interesting. He sent the multitudes away. And then he went to, it looks like it says he went into a mountain. Is that right? It says, let me go back here and just look again. Yeah, he went to a mountain to pray. And this is interesting that you see this a lot in scripture with Jesus and with other, is they would go away from the people to pray, because um, just like every other human on earth, I would imagine that when you constantly pour yourself out, it is nice to be able to be filled again by retreating into the power of God, and being able to retreat like that. And I've had to have those moments myself, and I'm sure all of you guys have as well, where you've given all you can give, as far as like you're ready to be filled again yourself. So you go and you pray, and after this event where he's been praying to his Father, um, he's walking on the water in this ship, and pretty amazing. So, and Peter answered him and said, Lord, if thou bid me to come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and began to sink. He cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. Then when they were in the ship and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth thou art the Son of God. So this was one of those points where they just knew. They're like, okay, like this dude is got to be the Son of God. He's been going around healing people. He's feeding multitudes with nothing, and with just basically five loaves, two fishes. And now he's walking on water, stopping the storm, and even allowed Peter to walk with him for a while till he had his doubt and then fell through. So people ask, well, Jesus never said he was the Son of God, but he did, and I'll show you eventually in here. But he also made sure he didn't rebuke them for saying it when they said it. If somebody were to come to me and say, you're the Son of God for sure, I'd be like, listen, do not say that to me. Don't worship me. I'm just a man. But he didn't say that. And anybody who's holy or righteous couldn't be just a good man if he just allowed that and continued. There's a lot of cults out there. There's a lot of people that allow their audience to worship them and put all the glory on them. And that's a dangerous place to be. So something that to consider and think about in this. He did not rebuke them. He didn't turn them away from saying anything. At least it's not recorded. So verse 34, and when they were gone over, they came into the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that place had knowledge of him, they sent unto all the country round about and brought him all that were diseased and besought him that they might only touch the hem of his garment. And as many as touched were made perfectly whole. And this is another awesome event right here because literally everyone in the area, they brought all their disease. They're like, it's time, bring them all. Unload the hospitals, bring them this famous man who's been going around healing everybody, making people whole, forgiving of sins is here. It's time to go. And this is such an amazing. In my mind, I'm picturing all this, and it's just a mind blowing type thing. And guys, I'm gonna go ahead and we'll start on the other chapter. We'll see as long as the sound's gonna be good, as long as people aren't out here, they don't start firing up more machines out here this morning. We should be good. Hopefully, you guys can hear this well, and we'll continue with Matthew 15. What an amazing couple chapters! I love starting Sabbath with this because it really, when I say starting the Sabbath, early in the morning, I mean, I believe that I know there's different schools of thought on this, but historically, the Sabbath starts at night and when the sun goes down to the sun down of the next day. And I know some people think it's daytime or say it's daytime, and there's arguments to be made for both sides, but the division on that, to divide on that would be foolish. So we are not going to do it, but because I already know in the comments somebody's going to say something. So Matthew 15, it says, Then came to Jesus scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said unto them, Why do ye also transgress the commandments of God by your tradition? A very important distinction to make here. There's nowhere in the Torah at all in the first five books of the Bible or in the law or the prophets that says you have to wash your hands. It clearly says this was a tradition of the elders. Jesus says, basically in my mind, I'm thinking like you're worried about the tradition of the elders. What about the commandments of God? And so it says, For God commanded, saying, Honor thy father and mother, and he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. But ye say, Whosoever shall say to his father or mother, It is a gift, by whosoever thou mightest be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition. Ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, This people draw nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching the doctrines and the commandments of men. And there's a lot here to unpack. I mean, you could go and you could really look at the entirety of religion in general, even the denominations, the cults on YouTube, the different, people that just, we believe this way. And if you don't believe this way, then you're a heretic. Or if you don't follow what I think about this, you're a heretic, or they make up their own sins. Like there's people out there that believe certain things are sins that are not sins, because if the Bible doesn't call it a sin, it is not a sin. Sin is the transgression of the law of God. And so when you go to these churches that say, "Oh, you're supposed to dress like this," "Oh, you need to button your collar up all the way," or "Your hair shouldn't be over your ears," or all these fake things that they make up in order to dominate over you. Um, these Pharisees, they have a habit of saying that they're doing holy things, but their actions are fake. There's no action there. It's all talk. And I cannot stress to you enough that you will be charmed by talk. There's people that will be able to speak the best things. They can do all the stuff. They can remember all the scriptures. But when it comes to their actions, when it comes to their love, when it comes to all those things, there's nothing there. It's just a dead zone. And that is important. That's why it's important we don't worship these men. We don't look to people as somebody that's holy or righteous. There's no one that's holy and righteous. Not one person that I've ever met in my life is worthy of any kind of worship or praise at all. Not one person. Now, I'm sure there's people that are like, "Oh, you do a great job. You can sing really, really beautifully," or "Man, the way you remember those scriptures are great," or "Wow, the way you put that together is good." There's nothing wrong with giving accolades to people, but when we put people up to a level that they don't deserve, not only are you doing yourself a disservice, but you're doing them a disservice. And so that's kind of where we're at. I know there's a guy out there just blowing away with this thing. So hopefully you guys can hear me. He's just walking around blowing one leaf at a time. So here we go. Not even any leaves. It's interesting, but everybody has a job they have to do. So he doesn't know I'm here doing this. So it's not like he's doing it on purpose. Take a sip of this coffee and hopefully he will move on from this area in a few seconds. And hopefully you guys have your coffee ready to go. Looks like he's heading the other way, so perfect timing. Thank you, Father. Hopefully he doesn't come back this way. All right. Jesus goes on now in verse 10. It says, "And he called the multitude and said unto them, Hear and understand. Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defileth a man. Then came his disciples and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? But he answered and said, Every plant which my heavenly Father have not planted shall be rooted up. Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind leadeth the blind, both shall fall into the ditch." So he's basically saying that they weren't planted by him. These are the people that claim to be the families, the bloodline, I guess you could call it. And if you remember the parable before of the seed, he said that he worked 6 days, he rested on the seventh, and on the seventh day, the enemy planted seeds. There's a lot here. And of course, on YouTube, you have to be very careful about what you talk about here, but there is a lot to this story if you really think about what he is saying here. It says, Then answered Peter and said unto him, Declare unto us this parable. And Jesus said, Are ye also yet without understanding? Do you not understand that whatsoever entereth in the mouth goeth into the belly and is cast out into the drought? But those things which proceed out of their mouth come forth from the heart, and they are the ones that defile a man. For out of the heart process evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornication, theft, false witness, blasphemies. These are the things which defileth a man, but to eat with unwashed hands defileth not a man. So he's talking specifically about eating with unwashed hands. Of course, it's not healthy, probably, depending on what you've touched, to eat with unwashed hands, but it's not what defiles you. It's not what defiles your spirit. It's what comes out of your mouth that defiles you. And it is, if you look at the things that it's listed here, evil thoughts, evil thoughts proceeding out of the mouth. Murders. So murders is akin to being proceeding out of the mouth as well, because it is an action that comes forth from the spirit, from the body. So adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, and blasphemies. People, all these things are something that comes forth from the spirit. This is not just, oh, I messed up. These are spiritual utterances, I guess you could call it. They are, it's a regurgitation of um, things. These are not just secret, or accidental sins, being false witness, um, being a blasphemer or a fornicator, or adulterer, murderer. These are things you have to think out. Um, there's other sins and things out there that are more in the moment actions that you messed up. Somebody comes along and pushes you down on the road, which is, hopefully that hasn't happened to you, but it could happen. And instead of responding in a way that maybe there's another way to respond, but instead of responding in the way you should, you get up and you just start beating the person. And I know some of you are like, this is not relatable to me at all, but for me, it's relatable because um, that's probably what would happen to me if I was not in the spirit at the time. If a guy pushed me down on the side of the road, I would probably in that moment be very, very upset and very angry. And so if I wasn't able to control myself, I would probably start punching the guy and beating him up pretty bad, or I'd try to anyway. He might turn around and beat me up again. It might be a mistake either way. But that's one of those things. It's like a in a moment type thing. Whereas when you're fornicating and when you're an adulterer, this is a continued action of things. And you could make the argument, of course, that um, that could happen on accident because like you're in the presence, for men, if you're in the presence of a beautiful woman and you are alone with that woman and something happens, that can be a crime of kind of passion that you do. And when I say crime, I'm just saying it for poetic purposes, I guess you could say. But it's one of those things that can happen. But if you're a continuer of those things, then you are an adulterer. You're not, and not that one time doesn't can make you adulterer, but Jesus even clarifies later on in here that it's not only just the action, but thinking it in your mind. So it's very important not to put ourselves in dangerous situations and stuff like that. But there's a clear difference here. And he was, basically in a way still rebuking the Pharisees. So this must be the kind of things that they got going on. So in verse 21, it says, Then Jesus went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Sidon, and which is a really interesting area. Had the pleasure of being in Lebanon last year, and to see like this path that was taken through there. Lebanon's a very biblical country. It was actually all Christian at one time, not too long ago, several hundred years ago, when before the Muslims came in and made a and that look, I'm just going to be real. They made a hellhole out of it. It's like it's gotten worse, and there's other people probably involved in that. But what a beautiful, beautiful place, and some of it's better than others um, because of the Christian influence there. There's places that are less dangerous and I would say more beautiful. So, and behold, a woman of Canaan came out and the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. And he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to dogs. And she said, Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. another lesson here that Jesus didn't just come for those who were of a perfect bloodline. He even said it in a way that made it know that the faith of this person, they're healed. They're made whole in this very hour because of their faith. It had nothing to do with their bloodline. Now, specifically, Jesus did come to speak to Israel, but it was also prophesied that they would deny him and that the Gentiles would show forth. There's prophecies about this. So this is another way of him saying and showing that, look, even them can do this. And there's a lot of speculation around this chapter we won't get into because I'm not trying to add to anything here or subtract from it. I'm just trying to go through it and just think about it. Because look, anything that I say that's added to these scriptures could be wrong. So I want you to study it yourself. That's why I try to encourage that always, and never take anybody's word for anything, and never feel like you have to accept somebody's doctrine to be loyal. That's a ridiculous way to live life. Verse 29. And Jesus departed from thence and came nigh into the Sea of Galilee, and went up into a mountain, and sat there. And great multitudes came unto him, having with them those who were lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many others, and cast them down at Jesus' feet, and he healed them. Insomuch that the multitude wondered when they saw the dumb speak, the maimed behold, the lame to walk, and the blind to see, and they glorified the God of Israel. I mean, can you even imagine? Can you imagine somebody that comes, not some like Benny Hinn that makes you pay to come up there, or some false prophet that says, I'm gonna heal you, when they really don't, they really don't have anything. If there were people out there that had the power to do what Jesus did right now, oh, the hospitals would be empty. Why would they need, go into the hospitals if you're really a healer that is able to lay your hands on multitudes of people and heal them? Go to the hospital and do that. Don't charge people up at the front of the thing. And maybe some people do get healed because their faith is very, very strong in God, and God allows that healing because it seems to indicate that faith is a big part of that. But nobody's been doing this, and nobody's doing this right now. At least not in America. It may happen in other places, but I would imagine that if it were, it would be top of the headlines. So keep that in mind. And this is another instance here. Say, verse 32. Then Jesus called his disciples unto him and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they continue with me now 3 days, and they don't have anything to eat. And I will not send them away fasting, lest they faint in the way. And his disciples say unto him, Whence should we have so much bread in the wilderness, as to fill such a great multitude? And Jesus said unto them, How many loaves have ye? They said, 7, and a few little fishes. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves and the fishes, and gave thanks, and brake them, and gave to the disciples, and the disciples to the multitudes. And they did all eat, and they were filled. And they took upon the broken meat that was left 7 baskets full. And they did eat, were 4,000 men, besides women and children. And he said, sent the multitude away, and took ships, and came unto the coast of Magdala. Another instance where Jesus miraculously feeds thousands of people, 4,000 men plus how many ever women and children. Could be 20,000, could be, you know, could be as little big as 20,000 or even more. Depends. I mean, people had a lot of children back then. And so, who knows? But he had compassion on the people, so he fed them. 3 days they were following him. They couldn't stay away from him. I mean, can you imagine if such a great light was in there? Nobody could stay away. This is but he sent them away. He didn't, like many cult leaders out there, they will bring you in. They're like they want everything from you. They want you to do this and that. But Jesus fed them and sent them away. Um, this differentiates him from many different people that have come over time claiming to be the Son of God. Uh, and so, pretty amazing stuff, guys. I hope you were able to enjoy this, and maybe give you a deeper passion to want to go over these gospels and help understand them. It helps for me to visualize these things going along. And I've read through Matthew many, many times, but every time I go through it, I just get this real visualization of what's going on. And it really makes sense to me that if all of this stuff is true, why thousands years later we're still the whole world's designed around this. All the symbols, everything it's clear that Yeshua, Jesus, was something special that we've not seen before. It's very clear when almost the entirety of the world knows who he is. So guys, be blessed. Have a great Sabbath, and I'll see you guys next time.